Yeah, for you.
Yeah.
On this?
Otherwise it will close down. So
Okay.
you can use it here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Pramod Deo, Mr. Ajay Kapoor, Mr. S.S. Rao, Mr. Navneet Manot, my dear friends. Well, we are going to discuss some of the issues regarding investments in power, challenges and opportunities, cross-border energy opportunities. For me, the challenge is to keep you awake after a very good lunch that the organizers have served, and I hope I'm successful in doing that. Well, in the morning, my friend Mr. Anil Razan has made my job very simple. In giving the entire energy scenario laying before you, he has discussed at length the power sector per se as well, very exhaustively. And therefore, I'm not going to spend really much time. And I would rather like to give more time for questions and answers so that you can all participate with the eminent panel members that you have headed by Dr. Pramod Deo. In the morning session, what I found was that whereas this forum is SAFIR, South Asia Forum for Infrastructure Regulation, but it became so much India specific, and then from India specific, it became coal versus power specific. Now, I should like to take you a little away from that. Let us discuss and deliberate and delve deeper into some of the real issues that bog down the power sector, not only in India, but similar situation in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and of course Bhutan we can leave for a while because there are much power is made available there. Nepal, lot of power shortage, Bangladesh. So I think that is where our focus and attention should be. As far as the other issues are concerned, maybe we can address these at length in some other forums. So first of all, I'm just going to, don't bother about this is not legible enough, but this is a slide that I borrowed from NTPC, wherein the per capita consumption of electricity is what I would like you to see here. That whereas India is at 734, Pakistan at 474, Sri Lanka 449, Bangladesh 144, and Maldives, of course, 604, and Nepal a mere 80. Now, and Bhutan more than that, okay? Now, the idea is to show you this is that globally, the per capita consumption is of the order of 3,000 units per capita per annum. Now, if this part of the world has to reach even the average per capita consumption, you can imagine how many times we have to add the capacity. And that is the opportunity for you all investors, those of you who are here for investments. For them, there is enormous opportunities do exist in this part of the world, in all these countries where a lot of investments are required. I have to come back to India specific because I note that most of you are from India and are looking for investments in this second fastest growing economy in the world for the investment opportunities. And you are seeing that here in the last decade itself, India has added about 100,000 megawatts. And we are not going to stop there. In the coming decade, the requirement is that we add 200,000 megawatts. And before the year 2032, as per the integrated energy policy that has been issued, you have to add 300,000 megawatt in the next decade. That is, the previous decade was 100,000 megawatt. The present one, that is the 2012 to 22, is going to be, requirement is 200,000 megawatts. And next is 300,000 megawatts. So you can imagine that every year you need to add rather something like 20 to 30,000 megawatts every year. That means about 2,000 megawatt every month, which amounts to commissioning a 500 megawatt unit every week. Is not that enough opportunity as far as its only generation is concerned? And there is going to be corresponding growth and requirement in transmission, distribution, trading, and you name it. And with the opening of the Indian economy and the 2003 Act, you can, no license required, you can go for merchant, you can go for long-term PPA or whatever, it's your wish. You can put out the plant where you like, of course with all the clearances that are required. And the transmission is also open to private investments as well as the distribution. Now this is a mix of hydrothermal. I think Mr. Razan has done an excellent job. I am not going to spend more time, but let us see this slide here. What has happened? The private investments in the last couple of years have really increased, and the likelihood is that they will continue to increase, and by the year 2017, maybe the 1/3 of the investments in the generation will come only from the private sector. Power generation has gone up. These are some of the slides I got from Proactive Universal Group. And this per capita, as far as the India is concerned, a number of villages, still there are about 600,000 villages in the country, and we still have to electrify almost 10% remaining. That means about 60,000 villages still to be electrified. Growth, as I shared with you earlier, this is required. These are the requirements. Of course, even the 12th plan, the final figure that has been pegged is of the order of 76,000 megawatt against the requirement projected by CEA of 100,000 megawatts. This I've discussed with you. But here we also have to see one more thing is about the nuclear. You know, we have all talked about coal, we have talked about the wind energy, we have talked about the renewables, but as far as the nuclear is concerned, I think it has not been dealt with today. But believe you me, that as far as the Department of Atomic Energy is concerned, we are equipped in adding capacities. And the idea is to add about 63,000 megawatts by the year 2032, and that in phases. Of course, our own indigenous program and the 700 megawatt units that Nuclear Power Corporation has already started, almost 4 to 6 to 8 units of these. And of course, with the cooperation, international cooperation, we have every intention of adding more megawatts as far as the nuclear power is concerned. And despite Fukushima, despite all the fears, India is going to learn lessons from all the accidents that took place, whether it was 3 Mile accident or the Chernobyl, or now, unfortunately, Fukushima. Now, this Fukushima, if it was 30-year-old, built with the old philosophies, with the safety feature, which are quite different, and with the safety records, I will not like to speak that. But lessons from all of these have been learned, and more lessons are being learned, and more audit is being done, and therefore nuclear will also be one area which will add at least some of the capacity to our kitty. Transmission, as I said, we have gone up to 765. Power grid, I hope some people are here. They are already going ahead with work on the 1200 kilovolts also. And then growth, this is a very nicely prepared, again, table by PUG. And inter-regional transmission capacity also, so that we can connect. You can put a power plant where you like, and then it can serve any place in the country. That's a national grid, and that is made possible by having more capabilities. And of course, the high capacity corridors, Mr. Razan already talked in the morning. I'll not waste your time. And there are enormous opportunities and investment opportunities in these corridors, which Power Grid has undertaken to get these executed. Already some investments are taken up. I think these are all You are the investment banking industry people, you know all this. And there are enough opportunities. Now these opportunities, whether it is India or it is Sri Lanka or it is Bangladesh or Nepal. Now Nepal, of course, is blessed with a lot of hydropower. More than 80,000 megawatt of hydro potential, and what is their own requirement is not much. And therefore there is always scope for international cooperation with the rest of the countries existing in this SAARC region. And that is what is required, a kind of, that's an opportunity for cooperation. Whether it is Bhutan. Bhutan is having almost 25,000 megawatts. And India and Bhutan already, I think Mr. Verma will bear with me, he has been in charge of hydro and CEA also. And there is that opportunity also available for cooperation. And there is no bar that Indian contractors or the foreign contractors cannot be hired by India firms to put up a project in Bhutan. That's what we are already doing, whether it's BHEL or some other companies. Now, I don't think I need to highlight more of this, but there is a investment opportunity of 2.25 billion US dollars for the SCADA and DMS systems to establish the baseline data. So this are known to you. This is another opportunity. And then loss reduction, augmentation, HVDS, all introduction, another 9 billion US dollars. And we'll have to go in for smart grid sooner or later. Everybody is enthusiastic about it, and we know why to go. The basic need which will compel us to go is because we are going to add many megawatts through the renewable energy. And the integration of the renewable energy power generated with the grid power, you cannot do without the smart grid. And therefore, there is a vast opportunity which will be opening there in India for the smart grid establishment as well. And you know that we are not going to go whole hog for a very, in every area, We are not going to control, for example, the room temperature from remote, or we are not going to charge the electric vehicles through the smart grid and all that. But there are basic things that we need to do. We need to know which unit of electricity generated by us is going where. And we need to audit things, we need to reduce our losses, we need to make our power more reliable. All this can be done through the smart grid. And there will be opportunities galore for the investors. Now, we know that in India alone, 400 million households do not have electricity. Again, it's an opportunity for us to invest, meeting growing electricity demands, improving the quality of supply. Those 400 million households who do not have electricity, they will ask for electricity. Those who already have, but supply is only for 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 hours, they'll ask for 24-hour supply. Those who have 24/7 supply available to them, they are going to ask you mean the power suppliers, please give me the right frequency, the right voltage, the sinusoidal wave. I am living in a digital age, and therefore the quality of my supply must be of the order of 99.99, whereas in Europe and elsewhere people are talking of 99.999% sinusoidal wave frequency, all that, India, those who already have this in urban areas, they are going to demand more, better supply from us. And what is the challenge in poor countries in the South Asian region is, fuel costs are rising. And still there will be expectation, I'm saying. I'm not saying that regulators should put a price which should be only payable by the public, If the coal prices shoot through the roof, if the oil prices go up, gas prices go up, where is the choice? Then we have to adopt other measures to conserve electricity, to have more efficient equipment. But the price of power, to keep it affordable, is the expectation. Now, that will be the balancing act that our regulators will need to do. Now, let us see what are the things before us. There are challenges, there are opportunities. Challenges are that you have to do all this still keeping the costs low. How to do it? That's what all of us can deliberate and the regulators can keep in their mind. So enormous investment opportunity do exist, but the investors, and rightly so, expect reasonable returns, and they must be allowed that. And efficiencies need to be rewarded. And what was talked in the morning, regulatory uncertainties. If uncertainties are there, people will be discouraged to invest and touch this area of power. Therefore, we need to have policies which will be long-term, which should be reasonably predictable, and they should not change every so often. And if the tariff increase is inadequate or no increase, I'm not going to talk about what is happening. Many reports are available. All of you are from the power sector. You know there is a gap between the rise in tariff required and rise actually given. And there are losses which are more than, though they have been reduced, but it's of the order of 28.4% on the national average even today. And then already talked about in the morning is the regulatory assets. Now this regulatory asset has to be created in the rarest of the rare circumstances, like the flood comes, cyclone comes, or some other calamity is there which compels you that you cannot increase the tariff all of a sudden, cause a tariff shock. It is for that purpose. It's not for because the election is coming and therefore let us not increase the tariff. Gentlemen, if we have to expect investments, if we need investment in this sector, then we have to rise above these things. The very existence and the regulations or regulators were brought so that the politicians told you in the morning itself, we want to be away from these at arm's length. But then we have to search within and ask ourselves, are we really doing that? Or are we just the extension of the politicians' will and wish? So that has to be, that is for retrospection. We have to do that if we need investments, if we want to have investment, and in whose interest it will be. If there are more investments, who is going to be benefited? If there are more investments, there is more installed capacity, and when the capacity goes a little beyond what is required, then there will be competition. That is called market. In a situation where there is shortage, what is market? Supposing I'm dying of hunger, somebody is selling me a loaf of bread for not 20, for 100. What I'll do? I'll buy it because I want to survive. So is 100 the right price? Is the market discovered price 100 rupees? No, not at all. I'm not an economist, but this is fundamental. So in shortage conditions, if we are creating a market, and in that market we are discovering a price, and then we are expecting that merchant plant people will come and they will have so much of huge capacity, and those merchant plants are now, what are they doing? The cost of power once went to 13 rupees, 16, whatever, Dr. Deo knows it very well. But then it came down. Now what is the condition? So merchant plant. So short-term situations, whether it is the investor or the government or the policy people or we the regulators, is not going to help. Long-term solutions, foresight, that's what we will do. So therefore, it's not that increasing tariff will not be in the interest of the consumer. If required, tariff must be increased in tune with the escalations in costs and input costs. Now, one difficulty which is coming is that the tenure of the regulators is limited. Well, I got the hint, I'll just last, okay? I know that I am also being regulated, And I love that, otherwise one will go on speaking and, thank you. Now, the regulators every 5 years, 3 years term, and it's over and they're gone. Some do very good job, some are not able to do so good job. But then how to retain that institutional memory is the question. And in that context, I think a very good beginning has been made by FOR under the able guidance of my friend Dr. Deo, that we are going to have regulations which will be pan-India. Now, this is a very good step. And this is very encouraging because Once you have put into regulations, then the discretionary powers, or I will not call whimsical powers, but discretionary powers of the regulators are the likes and dislikes, are the orientation of a regulator towards socialism, towards this, capital. So that will decrease. And therefore, Dr. Deo, I must compliment, that's a good thing that's being done, and I hope the people are able to adopt that across the country. And this is the experience which can be shared with the rest of the South Asian countries. This model regulations I have talked, and I think that's well. Cross-border opportunities, this just 30 seconds I'll spend here. As I mentioned earlier, there are enormous opportunities. Hydropower with Nepal, hydropower with Bhutan, gas with Bangladesh, and opportunity to connect Sri Lanka and India. Joint ventures like NTPC, Mr. I.J. Kapoor will share more with you. Recently, 500 megawatt thermal power station they're putting up jointly. And then maybe a SAR grid so that the power can flow from one to the other, and capacity building and mutual learning on regulatory issues. I think I am done, and thank you very much. I'm sorry for taking a little more time. Thanks.